So in the last movie, we took a look at basic numbers, and we're familiar with what numbers are. They're things like 3 and 4. But now we're going to take a look at floating point numbers, or as they're sometimes just referred to as floats. So before we do, let's make one last change to our numbers file here, which is just to put a colon at the top and make it integers, because that's actually the kind of numbers that we were working with there. But there are two types of numbers. So we're going to make another one after we save this file. We'll save it in the numbers.php. Then we'll do a save as, and this one's going to be called floats.php. And instead of integers then in this one, I'm going to call it floats or floating point numbers. And I'm going to go ahead and clear all of this out of there. Now, it might be tempting to think of them as being the same type because they're so similar. And we can think of an expression like PHP var1 equals, and we'll just say 3.14. And you may think, well, that's just a number. But it's not. And they're treated a little bit differently in PHP. And we can actually ask PHP, is this number a floating point or is it not? And we'll work on that later on. But for now, you need to know that they are two distinct types, integers and floating point numbers. And the way to be certain which one you're working with visually is to look for the decimal point. Now, you can, of course, get to a floating point by doing something very simple like PHP echo 4 divided by 3. And of course, we know that's going to give us a result if we load up our browser and we go to floats of 1.333. That is a floating point number. It will happily move between floating points and integers, but there is a difference. And we just want to keep that in mind as we're working, that there is always a difference between these. I'm going to go ahead and paste in some functions that we can use if we're working with floating points. So the first thing I've got is a floating point, which I've said just echo the value of my float, which is going to be set equal to 3.14. The next couple of functions are going to work with that value. The first is going to echo back the rounding of that, and we're going to round it to 1 decimal place. Then we can take the ceiling or the floor of that floating point, which says either round up or round down. Now, round, the first one, is going to work according to the rounding rules that we're used to. With a 5, it rounds up. With a 4 or less, it rounds down. Ceiling and floor are going to force it to always round up to the highest number or always down to the lowest. One thing you just want to make sure you keep in mind is that ceiling is not C-E-I-L-I-N-G as the function name. It's C-E-I-L, whereas floor is what you would expect. So just keep that in mind. So I'm going to save this, and I'll just jump back over to my browser and reload it, and you'll see that